Thank you, everyone, for coming. This is our Hacker House. Secret Network is sponsoring this house, and it's lovely to see all of these faces here today. I was really inspired by John Bay's presentation, and I was inspired by a dinner that I went to last night. So, this is pretty much new ideas that I'm going to be sharing with you. I would love to have feedback about it and just I would like us to think together about a better world and how we can make a better world. So I'll start with some information that I'm just going to lay out the groundwork, just to make sure we all have the same information that we're working from. So first of all, I have a question for you. Um, how many people l- work with AI in their regular jobs right now? Okay. Of those who don't work with AI in their regular jobs, how many of you have interacted with AI on a personal basis, used ChatGPT or OpenAI or DeepSeek or whatever? So, pretty much everybody is kind of aware of AI. I think AI is one of the most powerful technologies that we have seen in many decades. Um, I think AI has the power to take us in a good direction or a bad direction very extremely. If you think about it, there are about 100 diseases that humans die from in the world today. There's more, but about 100 will account for most of it. And then of those 100, there's really 30 diseases that really take out most of us. AI has the ability to knock those diseases out one by one. It's complex problems that human brains have been trying to solve for years, but AI has the capacity to take that complex system that is the human body and the complex variables of disease and put it together to come up with solutions that can actually end these aging diseases. They call them the diseases of old people, of old age, which take most of us out. So, okay, that sounds great, right? Imagine a world where we're not dying of cancer or heart disease or any of these other things that usually cause us to end our lives earlier than we might like. We also have the ability to live more healthily and with more energy because AI has solved a lot of those problems of dis-ease and health and wellness. So that sounds like a really great thing. Now, what's the dark side of this? Let's go back to when Google came out. Google came out with a free search engine and they allowed us to search the internet for free. It was great. We thought, wow, how is this a free service? Why are they being so good to us? It turns out that they had an agenda. They were collecting our data in the back end. Google is not really a search engine company, and I think most people know that today. Google is a data company. Google has survived and thrived and become one of the top companies in the world by taking all of this free data that was provided to it through search engine, through people's thinking, they interpolated their behavior and their desires and their priorities. And then they use that to sell advertising. They use that to control who showed up first on the search results. So they're now in a position of power controlling our access to information as well as um, our ability to present a new idea to the world. It's a hugely powerful position. Okay, now in the future, most people today are in at this conference are saying the experts are saying that we're going to eventually be talking to a single AI agent. Each of us will have our own personal AI agent. That agent goes with us from our booking a hotel, and then it goes with us into the metaverse if we do that sort of thing. It just accompanies us. We talk to that AI. We need things done. Please write me an introduction email for this event that I'm having. And that agent will either execute that task for us or it will go out and find another agent that is better equipped to do that. But ultimately, imagine the scenario where we're not talking to other human beings. We're not sitting down at a computer. We're just talking to our agent most of the time. And our agent is performing these tasks for us. All right, so you've got the landscape now. Now I'm going to tell you the terrible news, the terrible potential news, which I want to avoid, but we need to be aware of it to avoid it. All of this information that you're telling your agent, you're telling it your deepest secrets. You might be using it as a therapist. You might be using it as journaling. All of that information about you. Imagine if a company like Google or Microsoft, a large tech company, were able to access all the information that you've shared with that agent. It's not only your inner thoughts, it's also your behavior, your spending patterns, your travel patterns, your priorities, your traumas. The list goes on and on. It's really your soul now that that agent has and can sell. If you don't protect that agent, if you allow that agent to have backdoor access from a big tech company, you're giving away much more than we ever gave to Google. You're giving away your very essence. And that's why I say that AI has the power to take us to an amazing future where we're disease free, or it has the power to take us to a state where our thinking is controlled by big tech companies. It's not a pretty future. And it's really actually could be worse. It could take us to the brink of extinction if we allow that to happen. So that's my first point is when we're thinking about the future of AI, we need to keep in mind that AI can really expose our souls and we can sell our souls to AI. There are ways to avoid that. We can actually keep our data confidential. The Secret Network is working on that. We're doing confidential AI infrastructure. But I want to make a new point today, which just occurred to me when Jambe was speaking, because there's this idea of community collaboration to end up with a larger pool of resources than you would have had otherwise. Is that a good way to summarize what you said? So, how can AI allow us to have a larger pool of resources overall and move towards that nirvanic state rather than that extinction state? The idea just occurred to me at a dinner last night. Think about I think it's like $3 trillion goes into end of life care in the US. If we no longer have to pile all that money into end of life care, that's $3.5 trillion and all that effort and the doctoring and care that goes into taking care of people who are nearing the end of life, we could reduce that. That's trillions of dollars that could be reallocated into programs that are for the benefit of humanity. Of course, how weapons are probably not for the benefit of humanity, and some people would want to put them there, I'm sure. But my point is more that as we embrace AI, we have the ability to gather extra resources that were otherwise unavailable to us and devote them to community projects, to uplifting humanity instead of competition. And that the competition comment brings me to another thing, which is you all heard, who has heard of DeepSeek? Okay, pretty much everybody. DeepSeek came out and it was a big deal because now we realize that China was collaborating in a way that the US doesn't really do. In the US, we tend to compete. When we talk about mousetraps, you want to build a better mousetrap, competition is great because person A builds a mousetrap, person B builds another mousetrap. You compare them, whichever one is better wins. But when we're talking about deep technology, it's not a mousetrap. It's a very multi-layered, difficult thing to build. And if we're all trying to build it from scratch in a competitive environment, we are wasting resources. And unfortunately, that's the case right now. So my hope is that as we embrace AI will not feel the need to reduplicate other people's work. There will be an opportunity to build on what other people have been doing. There's enough to build for all of us to take a piece and build that piece. So what I would what I hope for the future, and this is my vision for the future, is that we will see AI bring about an age where we're not competing so much, but we're collaborating, where we're keeping hold of our private data rather than giving it away, and where we can see the human race and our world approach better conditions for living. Our world can be better taken care of, climate change can be better modeled, our health can be better. And that is what I want us to envision. That's the vision that I want us to carry around in our head. And when you hear these pitches at Leith Denver every day about this is what I'm building and this is what I'm building and this is how it's going to work, listen for how that can benefit humanity as a whole, and maybe open the conversation with the builders of how they're collaborating with other builders in order to achieve a better outcome overall for humanity. Thank you. Yes, Bessie. Questions?
If AI isn't also tuned for collaboration, right? And so really, that's exactly what you express. It's like the collaboration that can bring us the benefit of AI versus the domination that would actually make us the victims, not in theirs.
Exactly. Exactly. Thank you for bringing that point out, because domination, if we tune the AIs, if we build the AIs from a perspective of competition, that's they will compete with us and we will lose. If we build them tuned to collaboration, then we can collaborate together. I agree.
More women's AI.
More women in AI. Great. So you're saying that the solitude that we experience is going to drive us even more towards having this agent who's our best friend and that we tell everything to. And then your second point is about having women in AI um, helps with making, is it compassion that you're thinking the agents will have more compassion?
I'm not the AI to stop.
I mean, to me, I wrestled with that question. Can we actually change the direction? I don't think it's stoppable. I'm thinking more about guidable. Can we change the direction of this train? It's going. Can we change the direction? And I always come up at the end with the only thing I can do is try. The only thing I can do is try the best I can. I do think it's possible to change, but I think we're up against some forces. The main, to me, what I see as the main obstacle in the Western world is the culture of competitiveness, the culture of individual and originality. Um, I'm not advocating for China's model, but I am saying that in China, there's a much culturally, the tech people are much more motivated, and it's acceptable to take someone else's work and modify it and make it better. The competition is not about starting from scratch with an original idea. The competition is about taking an idea and then iterating it 100 times, and whoever comes up with the best iteration that attracts the most people, that's the kind of competition that exists in the Asian tech culture. To me, that's better. That's a step better than everyone having to come up with their own original idea. If you put out a product, what's the first thing someone's going to say? Well, how is this different from X? This interface reminds me of X, and that's not a compliment. There's a lot of in Silicon Valley, which is where I cut my teeth, is it's all about having an original idea and having something no one has thought of before. We have to get away from this idea that the definition of being clever is coming up with an original idea. It's not the most the cleverest thing to do is use the resources available for the benefit of the largest number of people.
I'm curious in this time into your privacy world.
Yes, great question. Privacy is really from the ground up, and so it's not a thing that we necessarily can do anything about in this room today, right now. What Secret is doing is we're building into the large AI providers, Fetch and Singularity and Autonomous, who's co-sponsoring this Hacker House, Aether, who's also been here and working with us. All of these, and I would love to work with BitTensor as well, but getting them to understand the value of, as we build decentralized AI, which is the new movement, decentralization, we also need to protect the data. But that's a difficult technical problem to solve. And Secret Network has solved that difficult technical problem. Now we just need to talk about it and make sure that these large companies, we talked to Morpheus yesterday and Venice, these large companies think about how to protect their users' data as they're building. That's a very foundational movement that we're engaged in right now. Anyone who's working in the AI field can have an effect on that. But at the individual level, all we can do is start to recognize, okay, I'll just do another little poll. How many people think about privacy every day, their data privacy every day? Not all of us, right?
How I'm not, how I am bad at it. Every time I give a data keys, I'm like, I know. Right? Self-flagellation.
So that is what we can do is start to prioritize our data privacy in our daily lives, think about how it's important and talk about how it's important.
But really, at the core of it all is that our data became a monetization model, right? I mean, that's really what it is.
Yeah.
It's like the free access to whatever that we give our data for. And so we have actually turned the internet, which was a decentralization technology to begin with, into the biggest feed of data into the NSA and everybody else that wants anything, right? So the monetization model has to change
Yeah.
alongside the the ZK technologies and whatever we develop, right?
Agree.
It's the awareness, it's the technology, and it's the monetization model. And I think at the monetization model in a capitalist society, and that's where we kind of like stumble, right? Because on the other hand, I mean, I guess with the AI, they can be more efficient. They can actually balance patch something, and make money somewhere else. But that's the shift that we have to create somehow.
Well, there are quite a few groups that I'm aware of are working on right now monetizing our own data. So, because the way Secret Network works, you will have a viewing key for the context of your agent and all of your data that you put in and all the data that comes out. So, you have that viewing key. You can rent that out.
You still give your data. A poor, less rich people, whatever, people who need money will give their data, the other ones won't, right? And their data is less interesting to companies because they have less money.
Right.
Richer people that have more money, they can
It's still a
probably are protected.
Yeah.
So that it's still that issue.
How do we address the monetization problem at a deeper level? Good question.
And then the perceived safety as well, right? I mean, at this point, you just go to the airport, you just look at the machine, they know everything, and yeah, they work. So convenience is the other one.
Convenience versus privacy.
Because every kind of like doing something for convenience, I'm like, oh my God, I'm giving them a data again.
Yeah. Whether you hold your crypto in a hard wallet or cold storage or a hot wallet,
Crypto, but everything is.
it's all convenience versus security. Well, thank you so much for the lively discussion. This has been really, really wonderful to hear from you. Thank you.